right, guys, welcome to the show. We're glad you're here. It's Monday morning. It's 8 o'clock. It's time for Kevin and Donnie and Keith and yours truly. And we're here to help you crank up your Monday and get things going for the week of the 4th of July. Good morning, guys. How are you?
Morning. I'm tired. I'm tired. How's everybody else?
Same.
It seems to be a long Monday morning today. So
right. So, anything exciting happen other than I had a chicken hatch a bunch of guinea hens? So I had guineas lay eggs over by my outdoor kitchen, and a chicken kicked the guinea off the eggs and laid on it until it hatched guineas instead of chicks. So she fought me off thinking that she had baby chicks, and there was 10 baby guineas underneath her. So
wait a minute. What the fuck is a guinea?
So a guinea is a guinea hen. Oh Lord, I'll have to see if I can.
They look kind of like black and white feathers, but not dark black, like a gray almost white. They're like a fat chicken that can run really, really fast and.
Okay.
Like a fat chicken that can run really fast.
Yeah, they're like a little short, stubby, fat little chicken.
Oh,
that's
Lord.
A Webster Dictionary definition if I ever saw one.
It's Keith's spirit animal.
Here, see if this works. All right, so there's a guinea hen.
Thank you.
Okay. So these are the best snake freaking killers on the planet. So we used to have a ridiculous amount of snakes on the planet. On the farm, and guineas just have a natural inclination to take them out. So thanks, Paul. Paul likes new intro. So we're trying to get a little better, a little fancy, a little snazzy on here. But walked out and we heard chirping from a baby chick of some sort, and 2 of them were by my house, and the rest were under mama that were well over 100 feet away. So these 2 things walked across an entire yard and got lost. Well, we're not sure how the heck that happened, but
so is she keeping them now that she's not?
She would have raised them just like chickens. But we snatched them up because
we currently have a turkey mom over here that has raised 2 chickens. She sat on eggs that end up hatching chickens. So you get these 2 little baby chicks walking around. Well, now those chickens are almost full grown. They're still following mama turkey around.
So if you get a chicken that raises a duck, do you now have a turducken?
So I did see a TikTok where a chicken was raised by a duck, and sure as shit, that thing would jump in the water with the ducks and swim around. Now, my chickens, when they jump in the water, they just drown, right? That damn chicken learned how to freaking float somehow. Oh,
that's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yo, it's never a dull, boring
that's
moment.
1 point. That's 1 point for Kevin, turducken. I like that.
Turducken. Have y'all seen those videos where the dad puts a guinea hen inside the turkey, and the little girl pulls out the turkey?
He puts a Cornish hen inside of a turkey, and then after he plugs it in the oven, he pulls it out, and he's got 3 daughters. And he's like, "Oh my God, something's wrong with the turkey." And the girl's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And he pulls out the Cornish hen. And all of a sudden the girls start freaking out, like, "It was pregnant. We took the pregnant turkey."
And dude, these poor girls are losing their absolute mind.
I would definitely go YouTube that and find it. It's a hilarious video. And the girls are crying now. Now he has to explain to them how turkeys lay eggs, and it was a joke.
Lord.
I could totally see Donnie doing that if he had kids.
Yeah, it's probably the reason I don't have kids. I mean, let's be honest. One of me in this world is plenty.
Probably
you would torture the poor children, Donnie.
That is the absolute truth. I torture my nieces and nephews enough, though. But yeah, absolutely. Well, let's kick this thing over to. All right, so I love it. I just got this one this morning. And pitch slaps are when you get those horrible freaking reach outs on LinkedIn. And this one I got this morning. I got another one I was going to use, but it was so bad that I could not honestly put it out there because of the way it was written. I couldn't repeat the words in it. So I'll have to talk to the team about that one offline. But this
you
one,
couldn't repeat the words.
Yeah. And that was
Oh
a legitimate reach out.
I would say, Donnie, you're the litmus test. If you can't repeat it, it probably shouldn't be repeated.
Yeah. If I can't say it, then it's bad. Somehow Kevin and Keith both froze. Oh, there they are. Now they're back.
Huh.
But here's the one I got. It says, I hope you don't mind me reaching out. Thanks. I appreciate you. I work with founder so-and-so coaching where I help busy women take control of their health so they can feel confident, increase their energy, and no longer worry about what foods they should be eating or how they should be exercising anymore.
So far, she's right on.
Right? So, yeah, absolutely. Works with women. I love it. If you want to lose weight, are worried about about the health of you and your family, are constantly dieting, feel restricted, does that mean I can't poop?
She's still correct.
Want to live freely and confidently, I would love to see how my Healthy, Empowered, Renewed program for women could help change your future. No worries either way. Just had some free time and thought I'd offer up, as I always like to help as many women as possible. No strings attached. I look forward to hearing back from you. All right. First of all, right. Obviously, I'm a dude. I hope that makes sense.
Not
right?
sure if that's obvious.
I mean, hopefully the beard gives it away a little bit. But
have you seen some women?
Yeah, not this day and age.
This is true.
Just because he used to work at a circus as the bearded woman.
Well, let's break this one down a little bit. I hope you don't mind me reaching out. Well, of course I mind. You're interrupting my fucking day, right? Then it goes on to, I just had some free time. No, you were trying to sell me your shit, right? And as soon as somebody says no strings attached, what do you know? There's absolutely strings attached, right? I'd rather people just come at me straight up and say, hey, I want to sell you my shit. Here's what I sell. Are you interested? Right? Instead of trying to do all this beat around the bush stuff. It's, always crazy to me that I think if people would just read what they're sending out, it would absolutely change what they're sending. But,
Yeah, I agree. I don't check my LinkedIn until 9 a.m., but I just went and checked it real quick, and I've got an in-mail. Of course, I have an in-mail. And
is it the Asian women?
It's from the 7,563rd person that thought I am a good fit for a franchise.
Oh God!
Right? And I just
how much money did they spend on the in-mails? I mean,
it's the exact same message from 7,000 different people.
You have a great work
may not even exist.
Yeah.
So
I looked at your profile, and you have an amazing history.
You have a remarkable job history.
But like we've talked about before, it's a freaking numbers game. However many they send out, they're just looking for a percentage back versus trying to actually bring value.
Yeah, I argued with a guy one time and just said, "This is crazy, man. If you would just had a conversation with me and got to know me, develop a relationship, I would love to hear about what you're doing." And he pretty much told me to go fuck myself. And he goes, "This works for me, so get lost, pound sand." So I'm like,
I used to reply back to the really bad ones with, here's how to do better cold email. Here's better ways to say it. You should do this, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah. I've kind of given up because most of them, it's a number. It's just, we send out 20,000 cold emails a day. And if we get 100 of them in that say yes, we're really happy. And I'm like, yeah, all right, fine. You're not.
I got reported to HR 2 weeks ago for replying to one of those, Kevin.
HR at where?
Well, I guess Donnie is our HR. So someone sent Donnie a message and said they couldn't believe that Success Champions would have an employee like me on their payroll because of the way I commented on his pitch flap.
And then the guy sent a message in, and when I reply, he goes, "Never mind. I didn't realize this was a family company type thing, and obviously he's probably your brother or something." I'm like, "Well, tell me the details. I mean, if he's an idiot, I want to know."
I mean, the pitch slap was great though. It said, "Hey, don't reply to this yet. A second email or a second message will be coming." But what I'm trying to do is get a lot of people that like this sort of thing and get you together to do all these video type things. And not even 30 seconds later, that second message came in.
Yeah.
Reply because now I want to sell you something and stuff. And I'm like, dude, this is the worst pitch slap I've ever had. This is terrible. Why would you approach people in this manner? And then of course he went straight to Donnie and said, this is bullshit. You can't talk to me that way.
So Keith forwards me the damn message so I could see it, and I'm like, oh my god! And the guy's literally, I'm not trying to sell you something, but let me sell you something. It was like instantly too.
So Donnie's response: Keith wasn't wrong.
I just chalked that one up.
Well, I did get a little nervous early in the day because Donnie sent a message. He said, hey, this guy has reported you as being an asshole or something, right? And I didn't recognize the name. We had to do some digging to find out what that was. And then I'm like, once we connected, the company was in Colorado. And I saw this guy's profile was from Colorado. I'm like, this has to be it. So we finally connected the dots to figure out where it came from.
So, I mean, it's got to be like trying to sell into our company with me and Kevin. Now throw Keith in the mix, and it's going to be really hard to do a lot of things with our company and get through
Keith
it all.
is now our gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Good luck with that shit.
Yeah. He's the front office lady.
Right.
Best looking one you've had yet.
It's the only one we've had, so of course it's the best.
Okay, still the best looking one.
It's like the TikTok I saw over the weekend. The guy's mad because his wife introduced him as her first husband, and she's like, "But honey, you're my first and only husband, but you're still my first husband." That's how numbers work,
right? I'm not sure how I would handle Elizabeth introduced me as her first husband.
All right, this has been a scintillating conversation. However, Donnie, I need you to teach me something.
So this week I'm going to talk about networking being an offensive sport. And what I find is most times people are looking at networking as a means to, I don't know, socialize or find a bunch of friends. But let's be honest, networking is about growing other people's businesses. And a benefit of that is it gets to grow yours. So when you think about networking as a whole, you got to look at it from the perspective of what are you trying to do when you're out and about meeting people. And I like to break it down by what I'm doing. So if I'm going to an online, networking event of some sort with a bunch of people, I have a couple of hard, fast rules. If I get there and I can't interact with all the other people that are there, it's a webinar and somebody's going to try and pitch me their shit. I'm out. Okay. So it's just a surefire way you're there. If I show up and it's filled full of multi-level marketing, network marketers and the likes, I'm out because I know that I'm dealing with a whole bunch of people that just want to sell me their shit. So those are just two hard, fast indicators. The next is if I jump on there and I, instantly get pitched by 10 or 15 people with different things, I'm out, right? What I'm looking for is those online spaces where there's an opportunity to go interact and talk to the other people. And when I go interact and talk to the people, I like taking over the rooms because most of the best online events you'll find do all the breakout rooms and everything. So you can go in and interact. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump in these rooms, look for the breakout rooms, and I'm going to take over the breakout room and control the room as much as possible. The reason being is I want to be able to guide the conversation because as I'm at those events, I need to figure out where to put people. Right. And what to do with them and how to position myself in those particular rooms. So if you go to some sort of online event, and it does go to breakout, listen for what the overall directions from the person is. And 9 times out of 10, it's tell you about who you are and answer one freaking question of some sort. Go in there and instantly, as soon as everybody pops on, take control of the room and say, all right, guys, let's do this. We'll go around the room. Let's introduce ourselves and let's talk about this. And as soon as you do that, what you're going to find is the person in charge is going to be able to provide the most value to the room because people do, in some instances, like to be led. So when you do this, what you're going to find is as you're controlling, people will look at you to know it's okay to move on or do the next session or talk about whatever they talk about. Right. And for me, I'm going to just continue to ask questions because really I could give a shit if they know what I do or not. Right. My goal in those rooms is figure out what I can do with people, so I'll quickly tell them what I do, but I'm going to quickly dive into their world further. What most people are waiting to do is they're waiting for their turn to talk about their business. It doesn't mean shit. You're not going to do business with anybody in that group because they heard about what you do and they're just excited that you showed up, right? Your job is to go in there and figure out who's who, and then to get the right people. And if there's somebody that makes sense to do a further meeting with, then you instantly say, hey, let's jump on a Zoom, or you send them a DM and get on a Zoom. Same thing goes though for in person. And if you guys got questions, feel free to ask. But when I'm in person, I do the same thing, right? I'm going to go control the conversations. And I know this doesn't necessarily work for everybody because the introverts really struggle doing this kind of stuff. But I will tell you, the more that you can step in and can take control of the room, the more value you're going to give and get out of that room. But if you
become the leader of the group.
Yep.
By default, and that's how leadership works. So once you become the leader of the group, you become in charge. Donnie, let me ask you a question. You deal with it now or later, but here's where I have a problem. If I go to these networking things and I meet people and I do all that stuff, translating that into, oh boy, howdy, that's an individual I could do business with. Translating that into the sales process where I can actually begin to have a conversation about something that's going to benefit the two of us, and we're going to make some money here. How do you make that transition? How do you get somebody you networked with to enter into that sales process?
Don't worry about it. And what I mean by that is don't try and sell the network, right? So what happens most times is because people are going to those rooms going, I need the business. They really, really struggle with getting the business. So what I would tell you is go in those rooms to figure out where you're going to put the people that you're networking with. So I try, and probably a bad thing, but I put everybody in boxes, right? And the boxes are, is this somebody that I'm just going to network with? Is this somebody who's working with the client base I need? Is this somebody who's potentially a client down the road? Right. And depending on which box I put them in, which means you've got to be able to read and determine where people are very, very quickly. And look, let's be honest, we all profile, whether we want to admit it or not. We sit in a room of people anywhere and we're going to go, okay, because you can tell a lot about how people show up and about their energy they put out and the things they do. So put people into a box and then develop a system from there. So if it's somebody you're just going to network with, cool. Maybe you're not investing as much time with them as you would somebody who's working with your ideal client base. If somebody has your ideal client base and you know their industry typically works with my perfect client, then I'm going to go out of my way to make sure I get an appointment set with them to do a freaking Zoom call so we can dive into each other's worlds and see if we can open some doors with each other. If they're potentially a client, I'm going to go for a Zoom call, but I'm still going to treat it as an introduction call. Right? I'm going to go into that introduction call, seeing if I can provide them a ton of value. So to see if it makes sense to eventually get to a further conversation where we can do business together. But, the sales conversation usually going to come from somebody other than the person you're networking with. It's going to be somebody they introduce you to that makes sense to do business with. So look for their connection base, their clientele, not them directly.
So the key is the mindset has to be, I'm here to help you find the right people to grow your business. And in doing so, it's just organically going to very possibly lead to
not organically. This is where I mean by take offense and do this is it's not organically. You've got to control it enough to say, hey, let me introduce you to 3-4 people. And by the way, here's specifically who I need to meet. And I would even go so far is on that Zoom call to go, hey, let's open up your LinkedIn conversation connections. Who do you know who has a podcast? Who do you know that's an HR consultant, right? Whatever the people that, have your client base, go specifically, because what happens is somebody typically goes, hey, I work with people who do X, or I work with people, or I'm looking for introductions with people that, are wherever, and it's very generic. And when you ask a generic question, you're going to get a generic response. So I'll go back to a gal I talked to last week. I said, do you know any podcasters? And she's like, yeah, Joe Rogan. I'm like, okay, do you know any podcasters personally? And she goes, oh, different. And she goes, I don't know. And I'm like, well, pull open your LinkedIn contacts and let's see. So she did. She pulled all of her connections. She typed in podcasters. She goes, well, hell, I know 3 or 4 of them. And I said, do you mind if we go through them? And one of them made sense for me to have a conversation with. And she made the introduction, and I'm getting ready to be interviewed on that podcast. Right. So you got to get very specific. Don't just throw it out there and hope it comes back. Get very, very targeted, very specific. Get them specific open introductions. Like literally go, okay, who do you need to meet? What industries are they in? You know, what kind of things do they do? And the more you can get into their world, make 3 to 4 introductions. Now you got to get very specific in the ask coming back to you. Right. So you got to get very specific and say, you know, I'm looking to meet these types of people. And most times people don't keep names at the top of their head like me, Keith, and Kevin do. We all have this natural talent of just remembering where people are and the things that they're into. So and I tell everybody, do the introductions right there. I know Keith likes to wait till later in the day and stuff, but for me, man, I've got to do the introductions right then and there, or I'm just going to forget about it. The day gets too busy, and I'm going to screw everything up. So right then and there, make those introductions.
Yeah, I'm the same way now. I can't wait anymore. Otherwise, it'll be like, oh crap, it's 3 days later and I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I'd forget.
Yeah. The other thing I would say, Morris, too, is every time you get a chance to talk to somebody brand new like that is help solve a problem for them. One of the questions I always ask now is, you know, I always ask, where do you network? And where do you do your network and everything else? And then I lead that into the next question of, what's the biggest thing you hate about networking? Right. A lot of times they come back and they say, well, nobody knows how to give a good introduction. And I'm like, well, maybe that's because you don't know how to tell them what a good introduction looks like. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I tell them I need people that breathe air. Right. So you gotta remember, taking this back to almost an elementary type level, most people don't understand how to network. Right. And that's the most thing that surprises me the most. And when I'm doing all this is most people actually need to be taken by the hand and taught how to teach people how to give them those right introductions so that they're getting the right people on their camera. And I would say 90% of the people that I've met in the last year have no clue how to do that.
Yeah.
So if you're teaching them something, all of a sudden they're like, this guy is amazing. He just did for me in 30 seconds what no one's ever done for me before. And now all of a sudden they're like, they're trying to grab stuff out of their profile saying, who can I introduce you to? This is awesome.
Is that what you tell your friends for your blind dates too? I just need people that breathe air.
I've been on one blind date in my entire life, Kevin.
The other thing,
that poor lady was actually blind.
The other thing, Morris, that you want to do that's really, I think, key, especially if you want to be offensive in your networking, is actually setting up next steps after each meeting. Yeah, a lot of people expect to do a networking event and then they always end it with, oh yeah, let's get together again sometime. This was awesome. But they never actually set the next step. So it has to be a really, I just lost the word I wanted to use. It has to be very intentional on how you are managing that relationship.
Yeah.
So you need to say, hey, this is awesome. Let's meet again on this date, or here's what we're going to do next. And have that accountability built in, and because that's what's going to keep that networking relationship active, and it's going to allow you to keep passing more introductions and getting referrals and doing all the stuff that actually allows you to grow your business.
Yeah, I would tell you it's really simple. Is every time you go to an event of any sort, set 2 appointments, get the fuck out of the event.
Yeah,
because otherwise it becomes yeah.
All right, guys, couple of 3 takeaways, and then I want to hear about your podcast for the week. But what are the top 2 or 3 things, Donnie, that we need to learn and take away from this session?
One, spend time in quality events, right? So be very, very picky about the event you go and spend your time at. 2, set very specific meetings with specific agendas. 3, open doors for people. Ask doors to be open for you very specifically.
Very good. Outstanding. That's a very good deal. I learned a lot. Thank you very much, guys.
Absolutely. Let's do this. All right. So, forced podcast review. Kevin tried to torture me this week and gave me an hour-long freaking podcast to listen to.
52 minutes. It wasn't an hour. It was
oh, sorry. Forgive me. 52
Good job, Kevin.
minutes.
I was just happy that I got home and I found a podcast without falling asleep on my keyboard last night. So.
Oh, morning, Adam. Kevin's must be into this JJ guy because this is like the 4th podcast he's given me of specificity. I tried to say it, Richard. It didn't come out right.
I want that wrapped on my vehicle. Specificity.
That's right. That's it.
So,
You got
but Kevin gave me a podcast that didn't have any meat on the bone until like the last 10 minutes of it. So it's 52 minutes of this guy talking about how he likes to do random shit. And then it gets to the end and there was a lot of value. But I will say on the front end of that, there actually were some good takeaways for me. So whoops. I am talking. I just shared Kevin's one versus mine. Stand by. Let me get you the one Kevin had me listen to. This is the one Kevin had me listen to with JJ. And JJ has his own podcast, and it is big on. He's one of the story brand guys. So
I like him better than the actual story brand guy, Miller.
Yeah, the story brand guy annoys me. He does. But he did spend most of the front end of the show talking about being adventurous and blah blah blah. But there were some good nuggets in there that we should all have. And some of the things he talked about was having the and yes for a lot of things. So there's the yes and. We often don't try very many experiences, do a whole lot of things, but he freaking did all kinds of crazy shit. Like he wanted to learn how to make cheese, so he went to a cheese making school, and a bunch of did a whole bunch of different experiences. And I think people just don't experience enough stuff. They're not trying enough things. But more importantly, out of that segment, what I enjoyed is the things he committed to he would say no to. So he was going for his PhD, and to do his PhD he had to say no to a lot of things, like partying with the friends and doing things that would not lead to him taking on his PhD. But he finally gets to the end where he comes up to some really good stuff and some takeaways, and he of course breaks down the hero's journey, which we've all heard a billion times. But there was a stat he threw out there is 70% of websites don't have a strong call to action above the fold. Like people don't know what they're actually supposed to do when they land on the website. 70%. But I did like how he broke down how to tell your story so people know what to do. So Kevin, do you like that one at all?
It was a little long at the beginning. I did like that whole concept of his and he had a timeline that every so often he wanted to have like one thing that he wanted to try that he hadn't done before. Whether the cheese thing was one, and he had a few other examples that he did because he just wanted to do the new thing and experience stuff. And I think that was really key because I think it's especially for entrepreneurs who are stuck in the growth phase where they're spending a ton of time on their business. Having that thrown in is a great way to break up your time and actually give you some, an opportunity to recharge a little bit by going out and doing something completely new and different from what your normal process is. So I actually kind of enjoyed that piece of it. But yeah, I like listening. Like I said before, I like listening to him talk about StoryBrand way better than the founder of StoryBrand. Peterson actually does a way better job of telling stories and making them applicable to what he's talking about. So it was a little longer than I was hoping for, but I actually kind of like the content. So yeah. And I actually thought she was pretty good as a host. So
they were friends, so that helped, right? So they had met.
They spent 2 hours at a HubSpot event talking about cheese. So they,
right,
they should be able to get along.
And then I gave you another one from Sharon. I just like how that dude teaches, man. He teaches some really, really cool stuff. What do you like about that one or hate about that one? That good, huh?
No, I have to go back and think now about what it was. Yeah. Because I'm usually listening to these as I'm running around in the morning getting stuff
So Sharon had an episode all about formula for scale and how to scale your business, and he broke down 3 specific steps on how to actually scale your business, and they were singularity of focus, cadence of accountability, and with the systems is the last one. And what I liked that he broke down that a lot of people don't take into account is what is that single focus? What is that one thing they're trying to accomplish in their business? And what's the one thing that is allowing them to keep the business focused in one arena? And one of the things he found is he was writing down his numbers, and they were going to hit a $30 million year, and he screwed up and accidentally put an extra 0 on there, and it took it to 300 million. But he had it in this huge spreadsheet that could see all the changes happen when he hit this huge spreadsheet. And so it wasn't just like this arbitrary, let's 10x our business. When, people were like, put a 0 down, 10x your business. He could actually see what it showed, what it did to his business, and the dynamics of that and what could happen. So their singularity and focus became the 300.
Well, and I think it was really cool, with that singularity focus. It didn't become just the 10xing the business to getting to 3 billion. They really became super focused on the whatever that Northern California town is, Caldera or whatever, to that island off.
So 2 different cities in California.
Yeah, 2 different cities, one in the north, one in the south, and that was their motto. It's like, or their mantra. Caldera to Coburn or whatever the hell that island is. So then that allowed them to stay super focused on that, because he said they had opportunities to open up offices in Miami and in Texas and different places, but it didn't fit that mantra. So it's made it really super easy for them to say no and really stay focused on where they wanted to be. The cadence accountability was really interesting to me. I like the focus piece and being able to ask, well, does this get us to X? But I like the cadence of accountability and how it was actually the reporting piece. And it wasn't just having the numbers and being able to know what your numbers are. It was actually having to report them. That was the important part for them.
So they had several real estate agents, and what they would do is each day the real estate agents would have to say how many appointments they had yesterday and how many they have scheduled today. And so they would go around the room to all the agents and be like 6, 7, 3, 4, 0, 0. But you didn't want to be the person that said, I have 0 appointments today or 0 appointments yesterday. So it was, the cadence of accountability was that live reporting or instant reporting where you were being held accountable in the moment. I fucking loved everything about that.
Yeah, but then people lie.
Well, but here's what I always say to that, and I agree. People do lie, but at the end of the day, the numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
Like if you constantly show up and you're like 10, 12, 11, 14, and you're always these high numbers, but the revenues, the sales numbers behind it don't lie. So you can bullshit your ass off, but eventually that shit's going to come back and bite you.
It's got to get you. Yeah, it's going to get you when you get to the real world. How many of the rest of you have noticed that Donnie is either a closet analytical, or he is born to be an analytical and is just an outgoing kind of person on top of that?
So I like the numbers on the back end. I just don't want to make the numbers happen. What I mean by that is I don't want to build the spreadsheets and shit, but I like having the numbers in front of me so I know how to make decisions.
He wants the numbers to tell a story. He doesn't give a shit how that story happens, though. That's Kevin's job.
I love it. That was great, guys. I love those 2 shows. That was absolutely wonderful. And, it's time now to talk about what's coming up here in this week. It's the 4th of July, y'all.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things we want to talk about is what are some of the 4th of July traditions that you guys have in your households or the likes, and in comments as well. I'd love to hear what some of your guys' 4th of July traditions are. So who wants to start off? Kevin, you have any 4th of July traditions?
No, not really. I tend to do a lot more on Memorial Day with my Army buddies. 4th of July, normally is just going to be grilling and fireworks somewhere. So if it's a weekend, then normally there's a lake involved, but middle of the week, it's going to be a little less, lot more low key than normal.
I don't know the last time I saw a fireworks show. I think I was working Rockin' the River in Fort Worth for a nonprofit. And they have this thing in Panther Island Pavilion in downtown Fort Worth where nonprofits can go in and bartend, and they get to keep all the tips for the night of bartending.
Oh, that's cool.
So we did that a couple of times, which was a lot of fun. But
I may have bought $500 of fireworks on Sunday.
Jesus.
Did you really? Wow. Show us your fingers.
Still here.
Next week, let's see how many has left.
So, I was back in South Dakota over the weekend. So in Minnesota, you can't actually buy good fireworks. You can get like the fountains and helicopters and parachutes and sparklers, but that's pretty much it.
Why?
Maybe a Roman candle. You can't get any of the good artillery or canisters.
Shit, come to Texas. There's a freaking fireworks stand every block.
Yeah, that's the way South Dakota is. To a town of 50 people will have 4 fireworks stands.
We actually sell sonar missiles that go 3 miles in the air.
Right.
I was buying
right here on the corner.
Whether it's legal or not doesn't matter.
Right.
In South Dakota, you can get the 6-inch artillery shells that you drop like a mortar and it goes off.
Yeah, so literally, there's a
can't
gas
buy
station.
those in Minnesota.
There's a gas station between mine house and Key's house where the high school cheer team has got a horse trailer set up, just selling out the back of the horse trailer for freaking, and literally they have this thing out front that is like a 6-foot tall canister that you can buy and shoot these things off. I mean,
there is a church down the road from us that sells fireworks from 2 weeks ago until tomorrow.
No, there's stores that will open up, especially along the border, both Wisconsin, because Wisconsin you can buy good fireworks too. But on both borders of east and west border of Minnesota, and they'll bring in $100,000 over the week. They can sell fireworks because you'll get all the in-state people, but then all the Minnesota people will come across the border and buy and then bring it back. And the cops don't do anything on the lakes because people will shoot them off, but they don't actually. I've never, in the 23 years I lived here, have ever seen a police car roll up to someone shooting off fireworks and saying, those are illegal fireworks. You need to stop.
I'm just curious, Kevin. How long does $500 worth of twirlers last you?
$500. Most of them are artillery or cakes, so it is going to be close to 300 to 350 explosions in the air.
And where do you set them off at?
Usually off the dock by a lake.
Okay. Very cool.
We did it one year
with our explosives.
1 year at my oldest brother's house, we bought, and I probably bought 500. My buddy John bought about $500, and everybody else kind of pitched in. And so we had a ridiculous amount of fireworks. We got halfway through firing them off when all of a sudden a neighbor just appears out of nowhere and says, "We're scaring his cows." Now, my brother had just moved into the place, so we didn't know anything, and he was trying to be a good neighbor. So I let it go, but we ended up sitting on about an additional $500 worth of fireworks that we kept for a year before we fired off at the lake.
Because that's safe.
Right. Just keeping fireworks until they get old and
dried out and
blow up in your face. Yeah.
Right.
But keeping them dry is better than them, letting them get wet and nasty and really go off. So
keeping your powder dry, yes, that makes sense.
I know we're smoking some stuff, but I don't know what all we're doing. If we're gonna smoke a whole pig or what the game plan is for this one. I know we're not firing. I'm not buying off any fireworks this year because there's no point in me spending the damn money.
Yeah, I don't buy them anymore. So it's fun, living around the country as much as I did, seeing all the different traditions around the country. And I think Wisconsin was probably my favorite because we lived in a small town and they shut down the city and had this great parade. And everybody would go at 7 o'clock in the morning and they put your chair on the parade route somewhere, right? So we'd have 8, 9 chairs on the parade route in the front row. And then we'd come back later, an hour before the parade started. And then your chairs are just sitting there waiting for you. So It was really cool.
Yeah, if you go to a small town parade and you didn't go there 5 hours early to set up and stake out your place to sit, you are not going to be close, and your kids are going to have to like push through people to get candy. So
it's amazing. I like what Adam said, neighborhood golf cart parade. That's really cool. In the 4th of July, and down on 30A where we went for years with the whole family, they would do this kind of parade. And it was always the kids in the parade. So our kids and our family would want to get up like way early and go out and line up for the parade and then walk down the street. It was kind of a cool sort of thing. We saw some fireworks last night. Our HOA has said we're going to charge you $500 fine if you set off fireworks inside our subdivision. So, I mean, hey, be a killjoy.
So, Morris, do you have any neighbors that you don't like? You can go set fireworks off at their driveway.
Oh, fuck yes. No, I'm kidding.
I love it.
When I was a kid, we would usually march in one of the parades because I was in band in high school. But we would always then, as a family, do one of the neighboring towns always had a huge 3-day rodeo over the 4th of July weekend. So we'd always go check that out for the afternoon, and then obviously rodeos are going to have big ass fireworks at the end. Yeah. So if those bulls and animals don't get scared, I don't know why your neighbor's cows are getting scared.
Neighbor's just an asshole.
Yeah.
Probably the coolest 4th of July I ever did was I was living in St. Louis and doing a lot of travel at that point. And I flew on the 4th of July. So I'm above the fireworks and just hundreds of shows across the U.S. And I don't even remember where I was flying to. I think I was going out to California, actually, from St. Louis. But you could just see every fireworks show everywhere. It was freaking amazing. Then also you realize they're shooting at me.
I did that. I came in from Michigan, from Detroit to Chicago on July 4th. The flight was delayed, and I was mad because I was coming in late for 4th of July. I was going to miss the party, and then you fly in and you see 10,000 fireworks shows happening. It was a pretty cool experience. And then we did putting the blowfish under the St. Louis Arch one year.
Yeah, that was cool.
And they shot the fireworks off, so it looks like they're imploding, in between the arch and stuff in St. Louis. And
they always have the skydivers sky through the freaking arch. And that year they brought the hovercraft out, and they hovered right across the whatever that big ass river.
Yeah, they do pretty cool.
Well, I'm going to be real cheesy here, but I still believe that we live in the best damn country in the entire world, no matter what our problems are and what our challenges are. I don't want to go anywhere else. I just soon sit here and try and help solve some things than to leave, because I still believe we're in the best place there is to be.
I agree.
Yeah, well said.
So who's the liar this week? I forget. Well, I guess we have to find out, don't we?
You mean every week?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, it's a segment. That's right.
So in this episode, we are going to do Big Fat Liar. And the way Big Fat Liar is the four of us are going to tell a story. And as we tell a story, your job is to figure out who the Big Fat Liar is. So in chat, wherever you're watching this live, as we go around, take note of the stories told and try and figure out who is the Big Fat Liar. So, Kevin, you want to start us off with a story this go around, and then we'll go around the horn?
Sure.
Oh, Jesus. Way prepared for this one. I'll start it off. So, my story is really, really simple. Back in around my senior year of high school, me and one of my best friends, Joe, got invited to a church camp. At the church camp, a bunch of counselors broke in during the final night kumbaya session in ski mask and fake guns and proceeded to take over the auditorium. During that week, there was a young lady that had her grandmother's Bible. And, we knew the story, knew her grandmother had given her the Bible and the whole 9 yards. And we were fine with the counselors coming in. We knew it was counselors, no big deal. Until one of the counselors grabbed this little gal's Bible and chunked it up on stage. I can't tell the rest of that story because it got pretty rough from there with me and my buddies teaching the counselors a lesson that they shouldn't do things like that. But yeah, so I got into a full-on fight with all the counselors at a church camp.
I love it.
Sounds very Donnie-esque.
This must be our.
Can anyone actually picture Donnie at a church camp?
Yeah.
Morris, what's your story?
Well, this must be the week for fighting. In believe it or not, I was somewhat in the state of Alabama, an unathletic kind of a kid, and somewhat of a nerd. Still am. And so consequently, in 6th grade, there was this guy that decided he'd pick on me, and he beat the crap out of me just about every day after school for what seemed to me in my memory to have been, at least 10 years. But, for every day, I would try and find a new route home so that James couldn't find me and, beat the crap out of me. And that's kind of my story. Luckily, he got in a position where he had to move. And I think I heard a story where he wound up in the detention camp.
The detention camp.
Ooh.
Probably where he belonged.
Keith, what's your story?
So mine has a little bit to do with fighting, I guess. But for those of you guys that know, I've been in an extra in 3 different movies and 1 TV series. And the latest one was the TV series that was shot here in Fort Worth. You guys may have heard, called 1883. The gal that I was dating when I moved back here, her son was an assistant to Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, and I got to be an unpaid extra. And if you go back to the fighting scene where they come back into the saloon and kill everybody, that all the horses and this stuff that down by the river, I'm leaning up against the piano. And the only person that really in that scene that I filmed was what's that guy's name? Billy Bob Thornton was in there doing that whole thing, and it was freaking amazing.
Cool. Kevin, did you come up with a story?
Yep. So when I was how we're old when you started swimming lessons, like 6 or whatever.
2.
2? No, not that little.
2.5.
Hell, they teach babies how to swim.
I know that they didn't do that back in the 70s.
40s.
But no, when I started going to swimming lessons, I really wanted to go and do it. My mom is not a swimmer. She does not like the water at all. We were actually teasing her over the weekend that we're going to want to do a family cruise, and she like all the color left her face. So she is not a friend of the water at all. But I really wanted to take swimming lessons. So they said, okay, cool. So yeah, I literally the first day, and I remember this vividly, there was the first thing we had to do. You basically jump in the shallow end of the pool and you hold on to the edge and you walk along the edge. I wasn't 4 feet yet. The water was literally over my head. And I decided I did not like swimming lessons. So I told Mom I didn't like it, and she's like, cool. And I never went back. So I never learned how to swim as a little kid.
Can you swim now?
Yep, kind of.
Well, doesn't the Army require that?
No, that's the Army. They don't require much. The Army is like, can you put an X on a piece of paper and then you're in? So
wait, X.
Right.
There you go.
Close enough.
All right. So if you're watching along, I'm curious who you think is the big fat liar. Is it me with my church camp story, Morris and his bullet story, Keith with his freaking extra story, or Kevin doggy paddling? So in the comments, wherever you're watching this, who is today's big fat liar? So these are actually good stories.
If somebody gets this right, do they win something?
Sure. You get a freaking session with Keith. So we'll give you 30 minutes of hanging out with Keith.
No one's going to reply now.
Kim says,
the whole room just shut down.
Kim says it's Morris. Harlow says should always be Donnie, but probably Keith.
Kim says Morris is.
Yeah, Kim says Morris. And so we got Morris and Keith so far. So, well, who is it, boys? Who's the big fat liar?
It is Morris, Donnie, Keith. It's me.
How's it a liar?
So the actually is I was in 3 movies, but I was never in the TV series. And actually, it was filmed last year in Fort Worth, and I just moved here in January, so couldn't have been part of it anyway.
What movies have you been in?
Now You See Me. When the movie first starts, he comes Incredible Hulk guy, whatever his name is, Mark Ruffalo, comes out of the casino and he says they're gone, and the camera pans and circles 4 or 5 times, and you can see me with a BlackBerry up to my ear walking right past Ruffalo. And that was just pure luck. I was there when they were filming it. They asked 10 of us if we would come in and be an unpaid extra for that, which was awesome. And then Pure Country, back in high school, we were in the audience for that. They filmed that at what's now, I think, the Dickies Arena. It used to be called Will Rogers Memorial Center or something. They filmed that scene. Nobody was there. We were just in the audience, being an audience. And then Varsity Blues was filmed down in Waco at, I think it was University of Texas's practice field or something. We're in the audience for Varsity Blues. And a lot of the actors were actually on the field, hanging out and doing stuff like that. We didn't get a chance to see them, but we could see them, but not actually talk to them.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool.
Nice.
So I found a beer for Donnie this weekend.
What beer would that be?
Hold on, let me share screen. Icarus Brewing has Drinking Crayons IPA. I was not a fan.
Oh,
you tried it?
Yeah, it's an IPA and it's a really dry hopped IPA. So you get a lot
I don't like an IPA,
flavor, which I don't like. But then it also mixes in a lot of like fruit flavors, which just makes it even worse. I'm like,
IPA.
I like a shandy, but not an IPA.
I don't know how anybody can drink a shandy. That is one of the worst beers on the planet.
Out on a boat.
Yeah.
No,
I don't mind it. I don't mind a shandy, and I don't mind an IPA either. But you know what? You have to actually have taste buds and enjoy alcohol to like them. So I understand why you guys don't.
Yeah, I don't like alcohol at all. You know, it's alcohol is against my religion. So yeah, not at all.
Wait a minute. I thought alcohol was your religion.
Well, there might be something there.
So he's got too much blood in his alcohol system.
Too much blood in the alcohol stream. So
what's going on this week, boys?
So a lot of cool trainings coming up inside of becoming a champion for our Success Champion members. So the theme for this month is rethinking business. So we have a bunch of cool trainings coming up this week. Kevin is teaching rethinking how you communicate. On July 13th, Hannah Chapman coming in talking about rethinking finance. And if you have not seen her talk about finance, it's pretty badass, especially if she gets into money stories.
I spoke to Hannah's group this past week, and it was a wonderful time. We had a great time together. They had a great time in their chapter, and Hannah did a great job as the prez.
That's awesome. That's
Very
awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, good person.
On July 20th, I'm talking about rethink what you are building. And on the 27th, Monica Tuck is teaching rethinking your brand. So a bunch of cool trainings coming up. September 20th, we have the Badass Business Summit here in Fort Worth, Texas. There are only 5 VIP tickets left, and they are starting to move pretty fast. So we have an amazing lineup of speakers, ridiculous networking, and a ton of good content in good times. Also coming up on August 4th through the 6th is the Battle Business Summit in Atlanta, Georgia, where Kevin and I will both be speaker there with Zach Knight's event. So that'll be a huge, awesome time to fly into Atlanta. I'm actually going to fly into Atlanta, and I have to catch a red eye out on Friday night to get back from my the first Boivin to ever graduate college will happen on August 5th, I guess.
August 5th, yeah, Lubbock, Texas Tech.
Yep. So she's got 3 bachelor's degree, finished with a nursing degree while working almost a full-time job in 3 years.
Wow.
Freaking beast moded it. So already found a job making $36 an hour as a nurse. So she's getting after it and doing some really, really cool things. So, but that's what's coming up on a lot of trainings. Do you guys have any announcements or anything?
Oh, I think that's it. I think I just found out 5 minutes ago that I'm speaking Thursday morning at Avalon's group about how to invite people to your group. So I'm excited about that.
Surprise.
Yeah. Hello.
Awesome.
Hello. Yay.
Awesome.
But
just an awesome week, guys. Go have a lot of fun and kick ass this week. And if you need anything from us, please let us know. Otherwise, love you, mean it. See you. Bye. More.
Y'all have a great week. Do good things and bring somebody with you next week. We'll be right here on the Growth Mode live on Monday mornings. Come see us. We'll see you then. Take care. Have a great week. Bye-bye.